What's up, everybody? Today's December 27th, 2020. Welcome back. We got quite an event that popped up on Christmas Day, and I must admit it's been a little bit amusing reading all of the comments from people around the internet claiming they can't understand this explosion. They don't get why or what the purpose of this was. And like I said, this is amusing because most people don't realize that there is a global cabal running all these events in mainstream media, and they use occulted knowledge to pay tribute to significant alignments and dates. And that is absolutely the case with this 2020 Nashville bombing, which occurred at 6:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. As far as why this happened at 6:30 in the morning, this has everything to do with the fact that the only planet in the sky at 6:30 a.m. in Nashville was the planet Venus. Now, if you saw my last Gematria video where I talk about the death of the actor who played Boba Fett was the original Mandalorian, and the actor who plays the Mandalorian is also in Wonder Woman 84, starring Gal Gadot. And in that video, I discussed how Wonder Woman 84 was being released on a significant date related to Venus. That was Christmas Day, or 12/25. Now, to understand the numerology of Venus and why this date was so important to begin with, we must understand the magic square of Venus, which is 7 by 7. And like every magic square, each row and column all sum up to the same number. So this square is 7 by 7, a lot like the number 77. And if you add every number, 1 through 77, you find that this whole magic square sums to 1225. This year, 1225, or Christmas, fell on a date with primary numerology of 77. And it does appear that 77 is the number that drives us through this entire event. Consider how the movie Wonder Woman 1984, starring a female superhero, of course Venus, the planet often associated with feminine energy. Notice how Wonder Woman 1984 sums to 77 in reduction, released on a date with 77 numerology. It stars Gal Gadot, whose initials are GG, the seventh letter, like 7-7. Furthermore, Gal was born at the end of April, making her a Taurus, which is ruled by the planet Venus. This magic square of Venus is coded into our language as well. This number, 77, with the 7 by 7 square, 77 sums to 49, the total number of squares. 77 also equals 175, which is what each row and column sum to in this magic square. In fact, I just noticed they put up the name of the bomber, Anthony Warner. And notice how Anthony Warner sums to 175 in the reverse alphabetic order. We're going to look at how this event is tied into the local politicians in Nashville, Tennessee, particularly the governor of Tennessee, whose name, William Byron Lee, also has this value of 175, connecting us to the magic square. But let's look again at the date numerology. This 77 is what really drives this whole thing home. Now, while this is definitely centered around the planet Venus, we're also going to look at how the moon is a very significant part of this riddle as well. Remember, this bombing was at the Batman building, named as such because of the antenna on top, which makes it look like the Batman cowl. This is related to the Batman movie theater shooting back in 2012, which was on the anniversary of the moon landing. So you're going to see some amazing alignments with Venus and the moon throughout this video. Now, on the date of this bombing, Tennessee was 2,777 lunar phases old. The number 77 coded into both the mayor of Nashville, John Cooper, also the governor, Bill Lee. Both of these men were born in early to mid-October, October 9th for the governor, October 15th for the mayor. This means both men are Libras, which is also ruled by the planet Venus. Libra is the 7th sign of the zodiac, again reminding us of 7-7. John Cooper was born on October 15th, which is the date that leaves 77 days on the calendar. And about a week before the bombing, John Cooper turned 770 months old. On the date of the bombing, Cooper turned exactly 794 lunar phases old. We call this 794 moons. The planet Venus has gematria of 794 in trigonal. Now, when Cooper was born, Tennessee was in its 1984th lunar month, which is pretty amazing considering that the movie Wonder Woman 1984 was released in theaters. The year 1984 is also significant to this event at the at&t building. Think about how 911 lines were knocked out and they're still having problems with service all over Tennessee for some reason. Well, on the first day of 1984, that's the Bell system breakup, when the Bell system, monopoly over all the telecommunications companies in the United States, had to break up. That was on January 1st, 1984. Next, I want to look at the governor, born October 9th. This explosion in Nashville fell 77 days after his birthday. It was also his 707th day in office. 77 has been a huge number all year. In English gematria, the number 77 sums to 2020. And this date, Christmas, was the last day with 77 numerology of the year. Governor Bill Lee has gematria of 81 in both reduction methods. Bill Lee is 81 in Jewish. This is significant because Venus equals 81 in the alphabetic order. Now, on January 1st of 2021, Tennessee will be exactly 224 years, 7 months, and 1 day old. The planet Venus has an orbital period of 224.701 days. And it does appear that this ritual, even though it happened on Christmas Day, is actually a massive celebration for the new year, January 1st, which we will explain as we get into the details on the Batman shooting. Now, from Christmas Day to New Year's is 7 days, and you see it very frequently where 7 days before or after a significant event, you'll get a major numeric ritual. So as we see, Christmas, 7 days before New Year's. Remember earlier this year, Kobe Bryant died 7 days before the Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 54. Kobe Bean Bryant is 54 in reduction. You might also remember the Sandy Hook shooting, the same year as the Batman shooting. That was exactly 7 days before the Mayan calendar end of the world alignment on December 21st, 2012. There's a very strong occultic significance to 7 days. 7 days equals 33 in reduction, so does 1 week. In the 33rd verse of the Bible, God rests on the 7th day. So again, a big part with this story is that 911 calls were impacted. And it's strange because, yes, the at&t building was right nearby, but the explosion was actually down the street, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense how everything was damaged and is still damaged to this time. Notice how the mayor of Nashville, John Cooper, his name equals 119, like 911 in reverse. The governor of Tennessee took office on January 19th, like 119. This is the same value in gematria as at&t building, also 119, The company at&t with capital letters equals 119. And if you measure from the date of the bombing to the date that at&t celebrates its anniversary on October 5th, it's a span of 9 months and 11 days. Intriguingly enough, if you measure from 9/11 to Christmas Day, you get a span of 106 days. That's the ordinal value of Tennessee, the 16th state. Tennessee admitted to the Union on the 1st of June, or 1/6. As far as the date numerology, of course, the 77 was the big one, but also notice the 41. 41 is the gematria of planet Venus in reduction. It's also the value of Mercury. We'll get into the Mercury part of this riddle as we talk about the death of Casey Jones at the age of 88. Mercury's magic square is 8 by 8. So we'll touch on that a little bit more soon. But the next part of this video, I want to explain how this relates to the Batman theater shooting. Again, the Christmas Day bombing at the Batman building. And if you look this building up, you'll see that it's known colloquially as the Batman building. The tallest building in Tennessee, by the way. So back on July 20th of 1969, man is said to have stepped foot on the moon for the first time. July 20th, written 7/20. That's the same date as the Aurora, Colorado theater massacre. The name of the shooter in that incident was James Holmes. See how James Holmes sums to 7/20, just like the date that he committed the shooting. The shooting was exactly 43 years after the moon landing. And in Gematria, Aurora equals 43. So does Colorado. James Holmes was dressed similarly to the Joker, which equals 43. The word killing, also 43. Gal Gadot, who starred in the movie that came out the same day as the Batman building bombing, again, this related to a Batman movie shooting. Gal Gadot was born on April 30th, like the number 43, tying us back to this Batman shooting. But what really ties this together is how old Gal Gadot was on Christmas, on the release of her film. She was exactly 441 lunar phases old. Well, who conducted the fake moon landing back in the year 1969? It was NASA. National Aeronautics and Space Administration equals 441 in the alphabetic order. The shooting in Aurora, Colorado fell exactly 441 weeks before the first day of 2021. Check out how Aurora, Colorado sums to 221 in Gematria. It also has matching Gematria with the year 2021. In the reverse alphabetic order, NASA has Gematria of 666. In reverse Sumerian, Batman equals 666. And check out how Batman equals 51 in the alphabetic order, just like Nashville in reverse. The year 2020 is 51 years after the moon landing. Don't worry, guys, this gets even better. Now, as far as Wonder Woman being used to celebrate the beginning of 2021, there's a few reasons why. First of all, Wonder Woman equals 2100. This will be the year 21. Wonder Woman equals 145, which in the octal numbering system is 221, like the coming year 2021. There's also a prime number relationship between 2021 and Wonder Woman 1984. All right, but the next big part of this, we're going to talk more about the moon. And, of course, the most significant cycle that has to do with the moon is the Metonic cycle. This is a period of 19 years, which syncs up with 235 lunar phases, almost exactly. And what I noticed just before going live here is that the name of the bomber, Anthony Quinn Warner, this sums to 235 in the reverse alphabetic order. 235 lunar phases in the Metonic cycle. So the number 19 is a number that we commonly see coded around stories about women and female empowerment. Perhaps there's no better example than the 19th Amendment, which was drafted in the year 1919, and this amendment gave women the right to vote. Now, the 19th prime number is 67. 19 and 67. Now, this relationship right here is of great significance. Notice how the word female is 67. Governor Whitmer, the Michigan governor, she was 607 moons, 19 days old when that kidnapping story came out about her. You may remember the story about Pussy Riot storming the field during the World Cup final, giving a high five to a 19-year-old named Mbappe, whose name sums to 109, all part of a massive feminine ritual. Feminism equals 219. This World Cup final was 219 days before 2/19/2019. Now, if you add 19 plus its prime number relationship of 67, you get a sum of 86. And check out how 19 equals 86. Now, the year 1967 saw the inauguration of one of America's great monuments. The St. Louis Arch was erected in 1967. And just as a nod to this being a ritual for female numerology, check out an overhead shot of the Gateway Arch National Park, which is essentially the uterus. If you lay an image over that, it looks almost exactly that. And this is because it was inaugurated in 1967. Very significant female numbers. Check out the name Gal Gadot, the star of Wonder Woman 1984. Her name equals 190 and 67, like 1967. Also notice how 1967 has the same gematria as 2021. The St. Louis Gateway Arch, inaugurated in 1967, exactly 54 years to the day before the 2021 eclipses begin. Both eclipses in the shape of arches. Aurora, Colorado, also, by the way, the site of the Batman shooting. Check out how this has gematria of 67 in reduction and in Jewish gematria. This is very rare. But here's the kicker. Do you guys remember back in 2015, there was this bizarre story about Donald Trump telling a boy during a helicopter ride that he was Batman? And this was while he was still campaigning. The kid asks, "Are you Batman?" And Trump says, "I am Batman." Well, if you measure from this event, now this article was published on August 16th of 2015, which means this happened on August 15th, as you'll see in the article. And if you measure from August 15th to January 1st, 2021, the first day of the new year, it's exactly 1,967 days. Now, what's so weird about this, again, check out the published date of August 16th. August 16th is the exact same day that the New York Times published this article, which tells us that at&t worked with the National Security Agency to spy on the internet on a vast scale. And think about this, a bombing at the at&t building, knocking out communication lines. Remember, the National Security Agency's crowning achievement is the Patriot Act. And if you measure from the signing of the Patriot Act, which was October 26th of 2001, to the first day of 2021, it was exactly 19 years and 67 days. If you multiply 19 times 67, you get 1273, which is the Gematria of Nashville, Tennessee, the location of the explosion. We've been talking about this major 77 riddle. Well, look how old the Patriot Act will be on New Year's Day. It'll be exactly 7,007 days old. And 7 days before it turns 7,007 days old was a date with 77 numerology. Probably worth pointing out that Patriot equals 99 and 90 and 36, just like the moon. There's definitely more with the moon as we'll go along. But now I want to talk about the really trippy stuff, because not only is this a massive astrological ritual that played out on television, but this is also appears to be related to my life and the life of my fellow decoder, Bobby, who lives in Tennessee. Now, what's so wild about this bombing is that it occurred right across the river from where the Tennessee Titans play. And it just so happens that the Tennessee Titans play the Green Bay Packers this weekend. I live in Wisconsin where the Packers play. Of course, Bobby's in Tennessee. And, oh, what do you know? The start time of the game is 7:20, just like the moon landing date. So it's strange that these two teams are playing each other right after this ritual, because this only happens once every 4 years. But what really makes this freaky when we're talking about synchronicity is the fact that on Christmas, while people were still trying to figure out what was going on with the bombing, we got the death of a basketball player named K.C. Jones. And look at this. K.C. Jones equals 77 in Gematria. He played his entire career for Boston. Boston equals 77. And remember, Boston had its own bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing. This player from Boston dying on the same day as a bombing. And think about his name, KC. Does KC remind you of another bombing? Perhaps the OKC bombing. Well, if you measure from the Oklahoma City bombing to the Nashville bombing, you get exactly 25 years, 250 days. K.C. Jones was born on the 25th. He died on the 25th. And he wore number 25 during his playing career. But why is this so strangely synchronistic? Is that Bobby, who lives in Tennessee, his astrology blog is called K.C. Jones Occult Astrology. And then you get the death of K.C. Jones the same day as a bombing in Tennessee. So I don't know who's scripting this stuff, but it's really mind-blowing. I mean, this is truly one of the wildest syncs I've ever seen, ever come across while decoding. Let's talk more about K.C. Jones. As I mentioned, he was born on the 25th and died on the 25th. This means he was exactly 1,063 months old when he died. Now, in numerology, zeros are ignored. So 1,063 represents the number 163. The number 163 is the 38th prime number. And 38 is a significant number of death. The word death is 38, so is killing, RIP, and murder. The Hebrew word for moon equals 38. And if you measure from the Batman shooting to the Batman building bombing, you get exactly 3,080 days. The 2012 Aurora, Colorado shooting occurred in the 38th state, which is Colorado, which equals 38. Aurora, Colorado, when abbreviated, is 38. And the shooter looked like the Joker, which is 38. Of course, 38 is not a prime number because it's even. Check out the prime factorization of 19 times 2. Remember, 19 years in the Metonic cycle. Well, measuring from the date that the Patriot Act was signed to the date of the at&t building bombing was 19 years and 2 months. Tennessee is officially known as the state of Tennessee, which equals 192. And just think about the date the Patriot Act was signed. October 26th, written 26/1. The United States of America equals 261. So does National Security Agency. This ritual involves Batman, which equals 261, and NASA, which is 261 in reverse, and also the moon, whose Latin name is Luna, which equals 261. And we're not done, guys. We got one or two more sections to look at. In this next section, I want to talk about another very significant number to NASA. And this is the number 113. The number 113 doesn't look all that terribly different from the word lie. And all of these words on the left side of your screen, which have to do with dishonesty and lying, sum to 113. NASA was founded on July 29th of 1958, which is a date with 113 numerology. Remember, we've had 2 space shuttle explosions. One of them happened 1 minute and 13 seconds into takeoff. The other one was the 113th launch. Now, the Earth is 11/3 the size of the moon, and the word moon equals 113. Now, the 113th prime number is 617. Notice how state of Tennessee equals 617 using the prime number cipher? The tallest building in Tennessee, the at&t building, is 617 feet to the tip. The explosion occurred 617 months after the moon landing. And check out the gematria of the Patriot Act. 617 in Jewish gematria. By the way, when we're talking about 911, remember 911 calls were knocked out here. As I recently documented, the 9/11 team of the NFL is the New York Jets. The Jets have won 1 Super Bowl, and that Super Bowl was played the same month that World Trade Center construction began. And then, of course, the World Trade Center was brought down by 2 jets. So I found it interesting that the New York Jets in the NFL are currently 1-13 at the time of this 911 ritual. And by the way, Bobby, who is pretty much the primary contributor to this blog, his name equals 911. In fact, he'll be the same age on New Year's that the 911 dialing system was on 9/11. Which, like I said, the synchronicities here are quite outrageous. Another thing I want to touch on is this Boston theme. So we talked about Casey Jones, who played for Boston his entire career. Who's the last person that played Batman? Wasn't it Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck used to live in Boston with Matt Damon, part of that crew. Of course, we had the Boston Marathon bombing way back when, 2013. And to think about the bomb that blew up, right? A lot of people are speculating, or some people are speculating, that this is like the Irish Republican Army who was responsible for this bombing. And the reason people are saying that is because this bomb had a warning on it. And the IRA is kind of famous, I guess, for warning people about bombs so that there's limited casualties. Now, how interesting is it that the Irish Republican Army in Gematria sums to 221? And as we've been talking about, this whole ritual is a celebration of the year 2021. Oh, there's a few more cool things here. So notice how when you're looking at Casey Jones, there's this disambiguation. So there's a lot of Casey Joneses. Now, the one at the very top here is an American railroad engineer. I don't know why this Casey Jones is not down here with people, right? For some reason, they've determined he's so important, he's up here. Well, look at when this man died. April 30th of 1900. That was exactly 85 years before the birth of Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. John Luther Casey Jones equals 85 in Gematria. And now a player who's also named Casey Jones dies. And his name, or I'm sorry, he played for Boston, which equals 85. Remember, Boston also has the Red Sox, 85. Sorry, guys, just looking through my notes, seeing if I forgot anything. Oh, the address of the at&t building. I've kind of been all over the place on Wikipedia here today. at&t building, Nashville. Check out the address of 333 Commerce Street. This is pretty funny because this at&t building in Nashville is the second tallest at&t building in the country. The other one is in New York City, and that's at 33 Thomas Street. So 33 Thomas Street, at&t at 333 Commerce Street. And check out the gematria of National Security Agency, 333 in reverse. The company at&t, if you look at this backwards, right, you get 2021. And if you write out the letters as they're spelled, ATT, you get 221. I also wanted to touch on the Mercury riddle. That's part of this as well. We mentioned how the explosion had a life lesson number of 41, like ATT, AT&T Inc. Well, Mercury also sums to 41. And what's so wild about this bombing is that it happened on Commerce Street. Commerce. It happened in front of a telecommunications building. And it happened at the intersection of 2nd Avenue. And 2nd Avenue used to be called Market Street. And think about this. The Roman god Mercury is the god of commerce, communication, and merchants. So this bombing, no doubt, had a strong mercurial theme to it. This tied into the date that the mayor of Nashville took office, 1 year, 2 months, 28 days before the bombing. Mercury equals 1228 in Gematria. And the magic square of Mercury is 8 by 8. As you'll see on the left side of your screen here, 8 by 8 magic square of Mercury. We get the death of Casey Jones, who was a Gemini, which is ruled by the planet Mercury, and he's dead at 88 years old. Also, notice how the magic square of Mercury sums to 2080. This is a lot like the number 28. Nashville, Tennessee equals 208 in the alphabetic order. Mercury's synodic period is 28 days longer than its orbital period, and it never strays further than 28 degrees from the sun. I also want to take another glance at this story about Trump saying, "I am Batman," because the numerology here is pretty cool. So this happened at the Iowa State Fair. And again, this is all a moon riddle. In fact, the picture that CNN gives us of this cartoon moment even shows the moon up top. And remember, Donald Trump was born on the date of a total lunar eclipse. So he's very well aligned with the moon. Now, the word moon equals 57 in Gematria. And this is because the moon has a 57-degree range of declination. The Patriot Act was signed on a date with 57 numerology. Remember, Patriot has the same gematria as the moon. But what about this 57? Check out how state of Tennessee sums to 57. The governor of Tennessee is Bill Lee, which sums to 57. This explosion was near the Batman building, which equals 57. And remember the Batman shooter? His name was James Holmes. His name was 57. Trump said, "I am Batman" during a helicopter ride. Helicopter equals 57. This occurred at the Iowa State Fair, which equals 57. Now, if you add 57 plus the 57th prime number, 269, you get a sum of 326. And check out what happens when you measure from the Batman theater shooting to the date that Donald Trump said he was Batman. It was 3 years and 26 days later. The state of Iowa sums to 21 and 48. The Latin name for the moon, which is 21, is Luna, which is 48. And it happened in Des Moines, Iowa, at the state fair. And notice how Des Moines, Iowa equals 1283. The moon equals 283. Also, this Batman movie where James Holmes shot up the theater, that was the 7th Batman movie, released in the 7th month. And then if you go forward a span of 7 years and 77 days, you get October 4th of 2019. What happened on October 4th of 2019? The film Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix, came out. October 4th, 2019. All right, guys. I don't know how much more I have. This video has been going on for 40 minutes. And I was going to call this a super stream. Those usually run over an hour. I didn't think I had an hour of content here. There's so much to cover between this Venus riddle with Wonder Woman, the Batman shooting, the Batman bombing, Casey Jones. It's really out of control. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. Sorry about that. I don't know. I know there's a couple things I forgot. Just scrolling through my notes here. But it's pretty clear what this is. It's all about the planet Venus with the 7x7 square. The mayor, born with 77 days left, 770 months old. The governor, 77 days after his birthday, 707 days in office. And then the age of Tennessee lining up perfectly with Venus's orbital period on New Year's Day. So, all right, guys. I guess that'll do it for this video. Thanks for popping in. Peace, love, God bless, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for the best decodes on the internet. All right, guys. Talk to you next time. See ya.